What's up guys, Terrence here from Retro DNA.
Nobody cares.
And I'm excited to jump into this video with you guys. For those of you who are like me, you got into your gaming experience via the arcade. Sure, there were consoles, you might have grew up with a console, or maybe you're even a generation behind me, where you had a number of consoles growing up. But there was nothing quite like the arcade experience in my personal opinion. I just love going to arcades. I love the sounds, I love the sights, I love experiencing new games. And then really just the unique gameplay that comes with being in that atmosphere and standing in front of one of those arcade machines. So what I want to do today, for those of you who are still out there pursuing your retro gaming dreams, I want to talk to you a little bit about 10 of my favorite arcade hidden gems. Now, I will let you know as a preface, all of these can be found on MAME. So if you have MAME and that's how you play your arcade games, please, this is a recommendation from me to you to look those games up. But otherwise, if you can actually find these in a physical arcade, I'm telling you, it's a top-notch experience. However, these are just some of my personal favorite arcade games that you might not have heard about. So these aren't popular titles. These are what I call hidden gems for the MAME and arcade. Gonna go through my top 10 here. Hope you enjoy it. They're in no particular order, just know that. Just 10 great games that you should check out as soon as you finish this video. All right, the first game we're gonna discuss is Timber, which was released in 1984 by Bally Midway. At this period of time, Bally Midway was releasing a lot of games that look very similar. So as you can see, this looks just like the popular game Tapper, or for those who know, Root Beer Tapper, which is just an absolutely outstanding game. But this was a lesser known cousin. Timber just basically is a game where you're in the forest chopping down these trees. You have a timer. You have to chop down as many as possible in each level in this time frame. And if you don't reach said quota, then ultimately you get fired. Now, there are a number of obstacles and things that help make this more difficult, but it is a fun game, and in similar fashion to Tapper and several other releases by Bally Midway, it can get quite addicting. It is challenging. This one takes a little bit of time to kind of get to the challenging part, but overall a great game, and if you've never played it, I highly recommend it. Next up, we have Pepper 2, which was released by Exidy in 1982. Now, Pepper 2 has that Pac-Man type of feel. That was a similar architecture for a lot of arcade games at that time. However, this one is really unique in its gameplay because you kind of block off these sections. Well, your goal really is to complete the map, but once you complete the map, you get a really cool, signature type of sound, flashing lights. I always say this one is crazy for those who are prone to seizures because it gets really extravagant with the flashing lights at the end of each level. But this is just a highly challenging, quick-paced, Pac-Man-esque arcade game that is definitely worth checking out. A game that a lot of people do know about, but I believe to be a hidden gem still because so many are unfamiliar with it, is the game Mad Planets. This game was released in 1983 by Gottlieb. They were kind of on a roll in this period of time, but Mad Planets is a fun game, similar to like a Galaga-style shooter, but you have these planets that are flying at you. It goes a lot quicker and can definitely be much more difficult than Galaga. I wouldn't say it's like Galaga with regard to sort of memorizing a particular pattern. This one just requires skill. It's going to take a lot of practice to become really efficient at it, but it's a fun game. Next up is a game that I just never get tired of playing. Pigskin 621 AD is a 1990 release by Midway. This thing is so fun. It's essentially playing rugby, in this time period of 621 AD, really fast paced. You're just passing and hitting. Those are pretty much the only two real moves. Try to score these touchdowns as quickly as possible and ultimately end up with a higher score than the other team. Doesn't take long at all to get the hang of. If you were playing it for the first time, mere seconds in, you would understand everything you need to do in order to compete, to play, and to have fun. But man, it is difficult and it's challenging, and it's so fast paced. The ball turns over so many times that you're just constantly locked in. It's a lot of fun. Next up is Cowboys of Mu Mesa, Konami 1992. If you love Sunset Riders, you're gonna love Cowboys of Mu Mesa. This is one that just people have never heard of for whatever reason. There was a cartoon that was on TV This was a relatively popular series for a super brief period in time. But Cowboys of Mu Mesa is, up to a 4-person run and gun shooter that is pretty much in every way a clone of Sunset Riders. Just a fantastic game. Tons of fun to play in the same way that Sunset Riders is. Shoes by Atari in 1990 is a really rare cabinet. If you've ever seen one of these, you have seen something truly rare. There were only 40 of them produced by Atari in 1990, but Shoes is, for those who are a fan of Golden Tee and you like those trackball games where you're basically, just lining it up, measuring, getting a look, and rolling your way to success, Shoes is for you. It's essentially a horseshoes game. And it requires a trackball in order to play, and it's just fun. I don't know what it is about these types of games. I can get really into them. For those who follow me, I'm a huge fan of Target Toss Pro bags, of course, Power Putt Pro and Golden Tee, really the whole gambit of those types of games. But Shoes is just a lot of fun to play with someone else, and it's a unique experience. If you've ever seen one of these cabinets out in the wild, please comment and let me know, because this is a rare one and I would love to know where one can be found now. Next up is a game that, man, I just enjoy, and I find no one ever knows what it is unless I introduce it to them, but it's Guan by Konami. It was released in 1982. You're essentially just trying to save these pigs. You got these wolves that are kind of floating on balloons trying to get to the pigs, and and they're also throwing items at you, and your goal is just to shoot arrows and burst their balloons and knock them out of the way. It can be really difficult. I think the difficulty level between even level 1 and level 2 is enormous. So it's a game that's tough to get far into, much like many of the games that were released in this time. Those early and mid 80s arcade games were just freaking difficult, man. But Guan's no exception there. It's just a really unique experience and a lot of fun. Now, a game that not a lot of people know about, but is also by a company not a lot of people know about, is Blood Brothers, which was released in 1990 by TAD. Blood Brothers is this really cool 2-player shooter. It's very similar to Cabal in a sense. I'd say that's probably the closest game out there. But you're one of these two guys. You remain at the bottom of the screen. You can move side to side, but you have this like light gun-esque target that you move around. What is interesting is, if you've never played this game, just looking at the footage here, you'd probably assume it is a light gun game. It is not, but it can be played with arcade controls and is still fun. The mechanics of it are good. It's just difficult enough to be fun and be challenging at the same time. A truly enjoyable game. If you never checked this one out, this would be a unique experience for you for sure. Metamorphic Force was released by Konami in 1993. Just a really great side-scrolling beat-em-up. A lot of fun to play. This thing can be up to 4 players, so it's very cool to play along with a few of your friends. It's got great visuals in my opinion. I think for a release in 93, it actually looks really good. A lot of colors. It's got a really nice color palette, kind of a unique soundtrack as well. It's just a cool experience. There's a few side-scrolling beat-em-ups that are similar to it, but this is one that really stands out and one I find people don't know about. And then lastly here on our list is Boogie Wings, which was released in 92 by Data East. This is a side-scrolling shooter. There's so many great shooters that are unheard of out there, so I wanted one that was a little unique. I love the entry point on this particular game. It's something about not only the mechanics of it, but just the overall gameplay, the kind of feel of it. I think it's like set in like a World War I era. There's not a lot that I can say about it, really. I mean, if you've played a lot of side-scrolling shooters, in a sense, you've sort of kind of played them all. But this one, I do think, has a particular fun factor that's enjoyable. I would say it's not overly difficult, but it is the right level of challenging. And it's just one that it kind of feels like a Data East game. It feels like a side-scrolling Data East release. And that's exactly what it is. But if you don't know about this one, this is one that I highly recommend checking out. And there you have it, guys. My top 10 hidden gems for the arcade. How many of those have you actually heard of? And how many of those have you played? Then, if you've played them, have you played them on a console port, on MAME, or in the arcade on the original hardware. I would love to hear your experiences with these games. And also let me know if you know of other hidden gems for the arcade. I do plan to do a part 2, so I would love some of your input on this. Definitely leave a comment and let me know what great arcade games are out there. Even if you think I might have heard of it, put it in the comments anyway, just so I can be exposed. You might remind me of something. And usually when I hear about a great title, the first thing I do is run up and start playing it. I appreciate you guys. I've had a heck of a time showing you guys my list of hidden gems for the arcade. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. We'll see you next time.